It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Well, good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I am your host. I appreciate you joining with us. This is our third out of 4 segments today. This should be an important segment for those of you who are interested in the issue of health care and how you get around the Obamacare disaster. Essentially, what we have is Obamacare is mandating that every American purchase insurance. But there are some exceptions and exemptions for individuals. One, if you're Amish, you don't have to participate. If you're Muslim, you don't have to participate. Funny how those two organizations got dispensation, if you will, from the Pope Obama. I mean, really, what? Because he thinks he's the leader of the God of government. But what we do have is opportunities to be exempted from Obamacare. And there's 3 organizations, which I found in my research, and I'm going to give you links to all of their websites. So I want you to get a pen and paper because you're going to want to understand how you can reach these folks and what the benefits are for you. It's they all classify themselves as a biblical solution to the healthcare issue. They're not insurance companies, but what they do is they share the cost amongst all of the different members. And so it's kind of like an insurance plan, and they have a set fee that you'd pay every month, and then they have other ways that you can, I'll get into the specifics of it, but what I want you to do is get yourself a pen and a paper, because I'm going to give you these 3 web addresses, and I want you to write them down so that you can at least do your own homework, right? Now, I'm not recommending or endorsing any of these. I'm just telling you that they're out there. I expect you as a critical thinker, as a self-reliant, independent individual with your own intelligence and your own God-given good sense to go out there and do your homework and determine whether this is right for you. It may not be. But the goal of America's Voice is really to educate and inform. So if I didn't do that, I would be deleterious in my duty, right? So, all right, I hope you've got your pen and paper ready. If you are watching this on YouTube, these links will be in the comment section, not the comments from the listeners, but in the show segment description area. They'll be, scroll down and you can see it, or drop the button down and you can see it, these links. The 3 programs that I've found, and there may be others out there, by the way, but I don't have unlimited time to do research and gather information. But these are 3 that really essentially exemplify what the capabilities are of these groups. The first is called Christian Healthcare Ministries, and their logo is the biblical solution to healthcare cost. They can be reached by going to chministries.org. That's CH like Christian Healthcare, ministries.org. Ministries is spelled MINISTRIES. So it's Charlie Hotel Ministries.org. Okay? Now, this particular group they've got a video on there where they were interviewed by Huckabee on a Fox News segment during one of his shows. And basically what they do is this. They have a program out there where you can determine the participation level that you want to be in, and then they offer the ability to kind of share the cost of overall extraordinary care for, the guy who gets hit by the cement truck or gets cancer or whatever the case may be. So everybody gets kind of like well health care basic. And you can see your own doctor. There's no limitations. You're not, because these are people around the nation are doing this. So, it wouldn't help if you could only see a doctor in Atlanta or a doctor in, Boise, Idaho, right? So they list the advantages of joining as affordable and compassionate, no application or annual fee, no waiting periods, generous maternity program, no physical is required, you choose your own health care providers, no one is dropped or denied participation due to medical conditions, including pre-existing conditions, I might add, and the joy of knowing that each gift goes to help a fellow Christian in need and knowing that other Christians are faithfully standing up to help you in your time of need. So essentially what they do is you pay a set amount for the basic care, and then in addition to that, you put in you almost put aside a separate fund. There's a separate fund that's put aside for the needs of anyone who has the extraordinarily high health care cost in the group. Okay? Again, this one's called Christian Healthcare Ministries, the biblical solution to healthcare costs. You can find their website by going to CH Charlie Hotel Ministries.org. That's chministries.org. I encourage you to look them up. There's a second group out there called Samaritan Ministries. And their slogan is a biblical, non-insurance approach to healthcare needs. And again, it's the same concept as all three of these companies operate basically in the same formula. They have, and their websites are very easy to navigate. It's how it works, what's the cost. I mean, they lay it all out for you up front, unlike Obamacare, where you don't really know what you got until it's kind of like Nancy Pelosi's little Christmas gift. We got to open it to see what we got, right? And it does address the question of what about the new federal health care law, because if you're going to consider this as an alternative, you got to think about it. And their argument is that if you're a committed Christian, you don't have to violate your faith by purchasing health insurance from a company that does pay for abortion and other unbiblical medical practices. You can live consistently with your beliefs by sharing medical needs directly with fellow believers through the Samaritan Ministries non-insurance approach. So, and it does satisfy the federal health care laws, the Obamacare Act requirements that you have insurance or pay a penalty tax. So it solves it's an opt-out method. And the reason I'm discussing this with you guys today is because you've heard me promote the idea of opting out. Pay the fine of $95 or don't pay it. Just don't give the government any means to collect it. The only way they can collect it is if you allow a tax refund to build up in your account. So pay the fine or the penalty or whatever, the tax or whatever you want to call it, or don't give them the means and method and ability to collect the tax, and then you don't even have to worry about it. But for the next year, I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't touch this healthcare thing with a 10-foot pole in your arm. So but in the meantime, there are lots and lots of listeners and people who really need healthcare that need insurance, and they've either been dropped or will be dropped on December 31st, right? And they're not going to have the ability to get into Obamacare to even sign up. So what are they going to do during that gap? And even if they do have that, now is the time for you to investigate alternatives that may even be a better solution for you than the health care that you had through your employer, where you've been dropped from, or that you were purchasing. Most of the people that are dropped are small businesses that are purchasing their insurance on their own. They're not part of an employee, working for, big company XYZ. Right? A lot of these people are either individuals who work for themselves or out of a home-based business, or they're self-employed, or they're the owner of small businesses, and they have 5 or 10 or 15 employees, and their policies are getting knocked around. So in the meantime, you've got people that need help. You've got people that need solutions. So what do you do? Well, if I just said opt out and hang the consequence, that would be unfair. I've taken the time to do the homework and at least find these groups for you. It's up to you to do your own due diligence and determine whether or not this is the right solution for you. I'm not recommending it or even endorsing it. I'm just telling you that it's out there. And essentially how these work is you have needs and you have share, right? So everybody shares in the overall needs of the group. This is along the line of the biblical concept from Paul. And in which he said that the believers got together and they shared their means and methods, and they shared their resources together with those who needed it. I'm not an advocate of some commune living and let's all sit around and grow our hair long and smoke dope and do nothing all day. This is not what that is. It is a method where everybody contributes, covers their own cost, but then when those extraordinary needs come in, and you do have a cancer treatment that needs to be done, or you've been involved in an automobile accident and you've got, high medical bills, or you've got an urgent surgery that needs to be done you weren't planning on. What do? I mean, your insurance is going to be canceled January 1, so are you supposed to go bankrupt between January 1 and whenever Obamacare irons out the wrinkles? Of course not. Boy, wait until those lawsuits start to fly. I mean, not for nothing, but I think the administration and the insurance companies have opened themselves wide open to all kinds of lawsuits over this nonsense. Anyway, they operate with impunity and immunity, and the courts are going to cover them up, which shows us that the justice system in this country is also so far gone that it has become integral to the Tree of Treason, which is the topic of today's series of shows, right? These are all fruits of the Tree of Treason. And Obamacare is a fruit of the Tree of Treason. It is a nationalized healthcare system intended to do one thing: give the government absolute dictatorial control over all individuals, give them dictatorial control over 1/6 of the economy. By the way, they probably already have control over at least another 2/3 or 2/6 of the economy through all of the other issues that they have. So they are practically at this point a financial default dictator. And in addition to that, it gives them the ability to build dossiers and backfill the voids in your dossier that the NSA and all these other organizations are building. It's a police state, ladies and gentlemen. Admit it, and then find a way around it. And here's 3. Samaritan Ministries can be found by going to SamaritanMinistries.org. SamaritanMinistries.org. That's SAMARITAN Ministries. MINISTRIES.org. All 3 of these groups will enable you to qualify to say, I'm exempt from Obamacare. Okay? And then you have to you have to look at this and evaluate all of these different organizations and determine which has the monthly share cost and which has, there are new administrative costs associated to it. What happens if you hit limits? Because, healthcare, you could get hit by a bus tomorrow and the cost could run into the millions of dollars. What happens then? So it's up to you to do your own homework and due diligence. And I encourage you to not only read what's available on their website, but to call each of these companies after you've formed. Critical thinking is a skill that you're exercising, right? And we're flexing our muscles. We're building our critical thinking skills. So what I would encourage you to do is go onto each of these websites, read everything that there is to read. Everything. Read them cover to cover, front to back, every section you can find. While you're reading this, sit down with a pad and a pen and write down the questions as they come up in your mind. Well, what happens if? What do we do on this? How does this work? What does that do? Where's the, whatever those questions may be in your mind, write them all down. If you don't get satisfactory answers in writing, and as you go through the reading of each of these sites, you may be able to ultimately scratch some of these questions off. And you may have to compartmentalize this and say, well, company, Samaritan offers this, but Christian Care offers that, or Christian Healthcare offers something different. And you may have to kind of weigh it and go through a pro and con list of who's got the right and best solution for you. And then get a hold of a representative from each of these companies and go through them with them your questions and get satisfactory answers. Don't be sold on a sales pitch. I don't know how these people are. I can't imagine, after reading some of the documentation myself, and I did a pretty thorough review of what they offer, I don't think this is going to be like a sales, a used car sales pitch. I really don't believe that. But you do have an obligation to yourself to do your due diligence and get answers. All right, let's talk about our third group. It's called mychristiancare.org. mychristiancare.org. And essentially what they do is the same thing. They offer these medical bill sharing capabilities. And They also, by the way, I mean, some of these groups have limitations on you. Like if you're really obese, they can charge you more, right? So, or if you're underweight, or if you're of the prime weight, you get the lowest cost. So, these are all issues you got to think about, right? Medical bill sharing. How does the share work, and what percentage are you responsible for versus what can you do voluntarily? Can your tithe be part of this? If you're a family that tithes to your church, maybe you can put a portion of your tithing percentage into this in place of that. Or if you're looking for a place to tithe, if you've got the resources and the wherewithal to do that. What happens in the event of disability, and is there any disability support for this whole thing? What happens in the event that there are catastrophic costs, right? And how do you get, look, there's so many questions there. It's not possible for me to go over them all. My real goal in this exercise today was to give you these 3 connection methods and to let you start doing your own homework to understand what the capabilities of these organizations are and determine whether any of them are right for you. And at the end of the day, you may take this information and you say, I looked it over thoroughly and I can't see how it's going to work for my family. And you may throw that piece of paper out or give it to your cousin. It's up to you. My job is to give you the information and let you be an intellectual, critical thinker so that you can gather enough information to make informed decisions. The responsibility is on you to do that. Okay. This third site is mychristiancare.org. And again, it's called the Christian Care Ministry. They have, pages and pages and pages of documentation on here about these organizations. They are all Christian in their religious belief. They all believe in a community, in a family of Christian believers coming together. They don't limit you to whether you're a Baptist or a Lutheran or a whatever, right? So that doesn't mean that, it's based on one denomination or another. And you all know, those of you who know me really well, I don't like all that dogma and I don't like all of the denominational stuff, right? I don't think God cares about any of that. But by the same token, you shouldn't be feeling restricted from participating because you're a Baptist and you think everybody else is going to be a Methodist or something, right? Now, what happens if you're an atheist or you're not a Christian? If you're Jewish, if you are, if you're Muslim, if you are an atheist, what do? I don't have a ready answer for you. I really don't. I can say that you should still look at these options because they may give you some ideas, number one. 2, they may lead you to some alternative solutions that may be beneficial to you that I haven't found. 3, you may decide that it makes sense for you to participate in one of these anyway. Maybe you don't want to share in the prayer and encouragement part of it because you don't believe in that. But truth is, listen, putting aside the religious topic, which I generally don't try to get into very heavily because it alienates too many people, and I want more people to hear the message because I don't care. I think Baptists and Christians and Methodists and Lutherans and Catholics and Jews and Muslims and Buddhists all should be standing, Americans, all should be standing, elbows locked together, standing there as a unified front and saying, first and foremost, we save our nation. After that, we can have any political and religious and ideological discussion we want. But first things first, let's save our nation. Because if we lose this government, if we lose our nation, if we lose the pillar of freedom and liberty that's holding up the roof of freedom and liberty worldwide, we're not going to have freedom of speech. We're not going to have freedom of religion. And you're not going to have any of the things that you count on today. So put aside all those differences about premillennial, postmillennial, mid-tribulation raptures and all of that kind of stuff. Put aside whether or not you believe in sacrament or Mary or whether you believe in, I don't care about any of that. Save the country first. And afterwards, you can exercise your freedom of religion and your freedom of speech to have all those discussions that you want. You can wonk out for all I care. But in the meantime, you better stand united with all of us. Wherever you're from, whatever your belief system is, whatever your sexual orientation, whatever your belief religiously, whatever your color, whatever your creed, whatever your nonsense is, you better put all of that aside and save the nation first. After we've accomplished that task, After we have put in place the Constitution into its rightful place as the protector of your right to worship in the way in which you choose, then you can have any discussion you want on the back end of that. But we're all Americans. End of argument. Or to use the president's term, period. Okay, I'm going to give you these three names again, and then I'm going to let you go for this segment. The first one that I gave you was chministries.org. Christian Healthcare Ministries is the name of the company. Their website is chministries.org. Now, I'm going to give you a way to contact them via phone because not everybody listens to or has access to the internet. And so, I'm trying to find a phone number for these guys, and I'm not finding one. Okay, I'll see if I can't find one for you. But if you can't, apparently they don't have a phone number that I can readily give you. This is Christian Healthcare Ministries. Jump on their website. They have an email contact, but they don't have a telephone number for you to call, and I apologize. I don't know where to find it. I guess I should have done my due diligence and found it for you first, but I didn't. Okay, the second company is called SamaritanMinistries.org. That's SamaritanMinistries.org. And, these companies make it hard to find them, doesn't it? They have a way to contact them over the internet, but again, for those of you that don't have internet access, their FAQ list is very long. Here we go. Contact us. Okay, here's a toll-free number for them. This is Samaritan Ministries. You can find their website at SamaritanMinistries.org. Their toll-free number is 888-268-4377. That's 888-268-4377. And they are apparently Central Standard Time. They're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Okay? They're in Peoria, Illinois. Okay, our third group, or our third organization, is Christian Care Ministry, and their website is mychristiancare, mychristiancare.org. I, again, encourage you to find them, look them up, get onto their website, learn all you can about it. I'm looking for a phone number here for them. Okay. This is mychristiancare.org, and you can get a hold of them by dialing 1-800-772-5623. That's 1-800-772-5623. Now, that organization is in Melbourne, Florida, and so I got to assume that more than likely you're going to have to communicate with them on Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so the only one I could not give you a phone number for was, got an answer for you on the chministries.org. That was the first one I gave you, Christian Healthcare Ministries. And here's their toll-free number. It's 1-800-791-6225. That's 1-800-791-6225. And they are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 Eastern Standard Time. Okay? So, listen, do yourselves a favor. Get out there, educate yourself about what the capabilities are. If you find that this is a good solution for you, maybe you should introduce it at your church. Maybe you should introduce it to your own family and your extended family. Maybe you should introduce this to, other people that you work with or that you're involved with in some business issue or something along those lines. Share the word, ladies and gentlemen. We educate and inform ourselves, right? That's our duty and our obligation. Then we inform and motivate and activate those within our circle of influence. That's why we educate and inform and motivate and activate. It is our obligation. It is our duty. Okay. I want to tell you that I appreciate you for joining with us this morning. I know that we've got a lot of folks that are watching on the web this morning, and I appreciate that. If this helps you in any way, shape, or form, by all means, please feel free to give me a call And you're certainly, or send me an email, I should say, to Mike. I'm sitting here reading their website. It says, please feel free to give us a call. Send me an email to Mike at americasvoicenow.org. That's Mike at americasvoicenow.org. In fact, if you contact any of these groups, I would like to hear your feedback about what you've experienced in communicating with them. Is it good? Is it bad? Will it fit your need? If it won't, why not? Okay? So you can help me to do my job for you better by communicating back with me. I'm encouraging you to contact these organizations, review them, look at them, evaluate what their benefits are for you, and then please contact me back through Mike at americasvoicenow.org to give me your feedback on whether this works for you, how well it works. Is there any downside to it that you've experienced, that you learned about? Are there upsides to it? You know, all of the typical things that anyone would need to know. And I may well end up trying to get some representatives from each of the three companies on the show. All right? So, listen, thanks so much for joining with us today. You've been listening and watching America's Voice Now. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue in our series of the fruits of the Tree of Treason by touching on this particular issue of Obamacare. All right? I want to go over a couple of things that have been happening that will really expose how this thing has and how we are being betrayed by those in the power elite, the political class in Washington. Stick with us. I think you'll find it to be interesting. And make sure that you communicate back to me with your feedback on these companies. I want to hear more about them. You've been listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'm the host here. You can find us on the web by going to americasvoicenow.org. You can find our Facebook page, and I would appreciate it if you jump on there and hit the like button, because that helps us spread the word to not only our friends but your friends. That like button can be found by going to Facebook at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. Even if you're not a Facebook member, you can still go on there and read all the stories and articles because it's a public page. Then in addition to that, we post every show that we do up on YouTube on our video stream. You can find those by going to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/America's Voice Now. We have hundreds and hundreds of videos up on YouTube. Please look at them, share them with your friends, listen to them when you have a moment. We appreciate your participation, and we appreciate your work with our show and your support for it. If you can support us, you can find a PayPal link on our website at americasvoicenow.org. We'll be right back.